Good to see you. Congratulations. Now, as you said, the end of October, so we meet again on the 28th, Steve, of this month. So we very well may be your last, if you come back, it'll be your last one. And bring him with you.
She goes, no, I didn't. And click the button.
Surely Fred would have to
He got me. I thought it was
Excellent to see you again.
It looked like the whole screen.
We're joined by Shirley Royalty tonight. The big hitters came out tonight.
Hey Fred, how you doing?
Yeah, cash out a little bit.
No pressure. You know what I'm talking about? It's an old Western movie. But they did they put tape over the washer and flips it and shoots through it. So dumb. Well, he shoots through a washer and I was like, why do we have to put it? He put like a for tape over it or something.
Yeah, you're not like I know y'all. You show up at this place every now and then. You get a check.
It's not seen it. This is based on this conversation.
Yeah.
Wow, I need to get that
When
set
that
up.
stops, you stop, right?
I've still got 3 more years of community service.
Gail's our Rotary president. She was one time in Things Elementary, and then she worked at DPI. Just 1 or 2 years. Nobody's doing the math.
Pretty long.
Nobody's doing the math. That's exactly right. And I can't do the math, and you can't try to draw those boxes.
Or I'm sorry, 735. I'm gonna say he'll go into close.
They got one on
I don't know why.
Maybe they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wrong.
We're getting so much, we're getting just so much, just, we never know.
Mike, 8, wow. And you 8, he said 8:15.
I think because
I said 8:25. You said 9:05. Tracy said 8:55. He said 9:30. That, you know, he's in control of it all too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he should not even be on.
service of us.
Oh, I'm sure. That's why I call my brother-in-law. He's a detective for they don't see him eating. So
What's the middle school called when it's middle school road?
But it's because he has a farm too. It's a whole thing. But they live on a farm. And he was telling me I'll get the pig, and I said I'm pretty sure I could kill one of his pets. And
Oh
like
gosh.
and it became this whole thing. So I mean, my wife's sister. He's a good guy. I like him. I just gotta give him a hard time.
I didn't meet my
Shot at, almost ran over. It's okay.
Well, and I don't know that was in high school, but
Is that okay? Are there 4 of you?
yeah, I can sit in the front.
I
I don't
can't
mind sitting in the
count.
front row. They can sit.
I can't count. Girls, y'all. It's on. Got my big old bald head. Lying on there.
It is casting a glare on the line.
All that hair gel is too.
Jealousy.
Or there's a seat.
Tell them green. Tell them green.
I figured you need some great assistance because you'll be rowdy out here. That way it'll be less involved.
Yeah, when I turned around, you're like, no. Not happen.
There's a seat right up front, and it has a name tag that says Nate Evans. The name tag's invisible. His
You know, mine, like,
There was no water used anyway, but.
We're not asleep. Real quick. I got 9 hours of battery. Real quick. I leaned up, so I was hoping y'all could hear me myself. Yeah.
where'd you come from?
None of your business.
That's what I said.
It soon will be that.
I heard somebody say something about you were gonna give it up. Or retire.
Let me talk to that person. I'd like to see who that is.
That's the rumor he keeps telling, but he keeps showing up. I don't know what the deal is.
Yeah. Not much.
All right, welcome everyone. We'll call the Town of Boiling Springs Council meeting for October to order. First up, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance led tonight by the Junior Civitans from Crest Middle. Bree Simpson, Lila Simpson, Naomi Freeman, Sanai Joke, Kylie Osborne, and Jay Cox. If you guys will come up and Kim Lawson is the leader with us this evening.
Cold now.
Attention and salute pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
get a picture with. Told these guys I won't be mayor much longer, but I'll have them in a couple years at the high school.
All right, one more. Two more. Perfect, thank you.
There you go. All right, first item of routine business is adoption of the agenda. Any comments from council?
Move the agenda be adopted.
Second.
Motion, Councilman Green, second, I believe, from Councilman Wood. Any other further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Agenda is adopted. On to community reports. Reverend Wade Wallace is here from the community garden.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mayor, council, we're so grateful that we're able to come and share just a brief few moments with you all and kind of give you some information as far as the garden is concerned this year. I'm amazed, I'm grateful to God that He allowed this garden to be established. We have believed that it is the work of the Lord that allowed us to be able to do so. I was reminded that He is a miracle working God on Sunday when we saw that the Carolina Panthers won and the Dallas Cowboys won. Amen. And so we believe that there is continuous hope for our garden. And so, but anyway, some of what we have seen occurring this year. Bill, you don't want to hear? All right. This from the garden community. We're grateful for the work that is going on. We've had butterfly bush planting and rose garden planting. We received something. I continue to learn stuff that I was not aware of, that somebody was talking about gold, and I found out that there is a gold manure compost, and we got some of it to help our garden. We've had fall prep on September the 27th. That was followed up with a hot dog lunch, fall day planting. Is this coming Saturday, starting at 10 o'clock. Misha is going to be doing planting presentation program for us on this coming Saturday. We're grateful for the music on Main that occurred this past Saturday, and that we were able to have a tent booth and able to raise additional revenue in support of the garden and build additional partnerships with others within the community. We're appreciative of the refrigerator being donated, and it's operational because of the skilled installers of Doug Roberts and Tom Townsend, that they did the solar installation there, and we're grateful to the Lord for that. We have the ongoing seeking for grant monies and fundraising efforts to sustain the garden. And so we express our sincere appreciation to the town for your support of the garden, for the information concerning the garden being sent out within the community, and the churches that support the garden, Garden Web's support of the garden. We're blessed to be a part of Boiling Springs community. We do thank God for each and every one of you. I would say, I'm not sure if there's any questions that you might have, but we thank you all. Some of you are aware that this next month will mark a year that my wife almost passed, and we had so many people within this community praying for my wife. And the Lord is allowing her little by little to get back up and going. I've not been able to work within this garden like I would like to, because back in March I was trying to catch her in a fall, and I've always had some issues, but not been able to do what we wanted to do. But we've just got wonderful people within this community who have worked and continue, that we've been able to provide surplus from these gardens to support this community. And we thank the Lord for it, and appreciate you all so very, very much. Do you have any questions or concerns?
I got comments. So I would just say, we really appreciate it. It's from the town, from the bottom of our hearts, what you all are doing over there. And we appreciate your servant's heart in leading the effort over there. And also, I understand that maybe there's congratulations in order, or did you celebrate like a 30th year anniversary at your church? Is the Reverend there?
30 years.
30 years. So congratulations on that.
Here, forget one thing. If you, I know you all have seen, I believe we've got a wonderful fencing around the garden. And there's a lot of people passing through from other places that because they have seen. So we appreciate everybody.
One last question for you, or maybe, what's your biggest need right now? I know it might be tough, but sometimes when we don't know the need, it's, how can I help? And so maybe get back to us as a board.
Funding.
Funding.
Funding. Is that right?
Funding and any help with communicating or networking and exposure for the garden, any information through the city that we can tag on to that would help communicate what we are, where we are, and the community effort that's there.
Okay.
Plus, I'd like to thank Zach and the city for delivering that black gold that the Reverend is referring to. So we thank you very much for that.
I called it gold. That's right, black gold. Real good stuff.
I've always been told that I was full of something, but I didn't know that there was a practical purpose for that. Mike's guys do a wonderful job of converting all of the material so that it has a sustainable use.
Amen.
Well, hopefully we can find funding opportunities and we can do something with our web and our social media stuff to assist with us. So thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, next up, Jessica Herndon, Instructor of Business with the Godbold School of Business and Strategic Planning.
Yes. Good evening. I'm actually gonna have, yes, here they come. Other visitors to come up. How are you all? Thanks for having us here. I wanted to give you guys an update to what you have contracted us to do for our strategic plan for the next 5 years. And I also wanted to meet these lovely, lovely ladies, students that are working with me on this project. So you know who I am. I'm gonna let them introduce themselves really quickly. I'm gonna go ahead and start. Rachel.
Okay. Hi, my name is Rachel Wade. I am a senior and a marketing major. also a senior and I'm a business management major.
And I'm Molly Fuller, and I am also a senior and a marketing major.
So a little bit of the update on where we are. We are, as you know, we have sent out the stakeholder survey for residents in the community. We're gonna give you just a little bit of data that we've collected thus far. It is not closed yet, so we don't want to officially publish and give you stats you can write down. You can write them down if you want, but we didn't want to give you anything on a PowerPoint to make it official. Want to give you some interesting and some confirming things. I think that you'll agree. We hope to get that response rate up just a bit more, and we're working a little bit. We're continuing to work with Zach and the town office just to make sure we can get a little bit higher response rate there. We're also getting ready to hopefully deploy our EW stakeholder survey. I think we're in our final approval for that, to send that out to the GW students, faculty, and staff, to get some data there. And then we're gonna begin drafting in a couple weeks, as soon as we can get some more solid data coming in. We also, once we give you some survey updates, we're also gonna ask you a couple questions, a couple follow-up questions. We have since, we met with Zach about a month ago, I think, and he gave us, we had our meeting, we have a mission I had with you guys in the spring, and then we had met with Zach about a month ago, and then we wanted to kind of give you guys as council, if you asked for some follow-up questions, just a few, to help us kind of pinpoint a few things, if that's okay. And then obviously you can ask us any questions that you have, so. I'm gonna let, who wants to start?
I'm gonna take over. I'm just gonna share some of the results from the survey that we have so far. As of right now, we have 122 responses. I checked this at like 5:30, so fingers crossed, maybe we got 3 more. Satisfaction's doing really well. We asked a question about what people value most about Bowling Springs. Over half of the people who responded, or mostly majority, said that they love the small town feel and just like the close environment. In terms of biggest challenges, 27 people responded that growth is a big issue that they think Bowling Springs is going to be facing in the next 5 to 10 years. And then a majority of people also brought up traffic and road issues, as well as parking. In terms of safety, 86% of people rated 7 to 10, so not very many safety concerns. When we asked for further comments, the biggest issues were things like speeding, crosswalk safety, and lighting at night. Those are mostly things we're all aware of. In terms of connectivity, they feel very up to date. 58% of people say they feel up to date with information, new news, stuff like that. They do prefer communication through social media. They would like to see more involvement through social media posting, specifically Facebook. 96% of people said they prefer Facebook. And we asked them a question about what kind of economic growth opportunities they would like to see within the town. The top 3 responses were more restaurants, a new or updated grocery store, and then other medical care opportunities in Bowling Springs. We said most of the time we go out to Shelby and other areas for stuff like that. And then other notes that we got were sidewalks and crosswalks, of course, as I mentioned before. And then we asked the citizens to rank different areas in terms of highest priority. And so I just listed off the top 5. So number 1 was road maintenance, and of course there are plenty of things in place for the future. Sidewalk infrastructure and lighting was number 2. Parks and Rec was 3. Public safety / police was 4, and then town administration was 5. So those are the top 5.
And then before we move forward with our planning, there were some questions that we just wanted to hear from you guys, hear about what you guys are planning for the future, and just make sure that your priorities were also our priorities as well as the priorities of the town. So our first question is, what is your top priority project to jumpstart downtown revitalization? So looking at downtown.
But you know in about 20 minutes, or?
If you know.
We've got a pretty big vote coming up.
Okay.
Tonight on our Main Street project. I think that's probably at the forefront.
We can follow up with that.
Yes, yes.
And then our next question is, what steps are you taking to support downtown businesses and continue growth?
I think part of it is infrastructure. We continue to work on infrastructure, and that's a huge chunk of what we're hoping to accomplish here soon with a water line that will be on Main Street, but also the beautification of the aesthetic, walkability type issues on South Main Street that we hope will be attractive to local businesses. And then we have retail strategies.
Retail strategies, yeah, we partnered with, retail strategies to try to bring in complementary type businesses to support local business. Your competition's good, but we also want those to complement the existing businesses, so I think that's what it enhance that. We have that power line, it's gonna be offset from Main Street behind the post office, is that still?
Yes, sir.
So that'll be a huge, remove poles from the street, make it more walkable, provide better service in behind the post office, going toward Oyster, or is the alumni building, what's right behind there, I can't remember. Anyways, so, yeah, we have this idea of trying to support local business. We have been trying to push that for a long time, and some of it's availability of land, some of it's just the cost of land, some of it is interest rates, the economy, I mean, so many factors go into that. Steve Patrick can probably tell you more. But we have a challenge at times in supporting and maintaining and recruiting these businesses. And it's a very big competition out there, so the businesses want something in return. So, and we have enough water capacity, we have a great sewer capacity, and so I think we have open space here, so I think that's the things that will help us with our growth. I know I've said a lot, but
One thing I'd like to see us do is, and I've said this before, is I'd like to see the council form a blue ribbon committee, where we, don't wait for people to come to us, we go to them. We make a brochure or something, maybe your plan might help us a lot with that, where we wanted to stick another grocery store, whether we go approach them and say, hey, we'd like you to come to our community, here's all the things we have, here's where some vacant land is, we'd be glad to help you with that. Rather than wait for them to come to us, I'd like to see us go to them.
Okay, and then you touched on sidewalks a little bit. We wanted to know if you were planning to also expand the sidewalks into residential areas as well as just the downtown.
It's so cost prohibitive. It's just, it's been something that we talked about for the 10 years that I've been here, and it's just, we hope to take it chunk by chunk, which is why you see like the piece in front of the new state employees credit union, the sidewalk to nowhere, but by requiring new businesses to do that, we hope to be able to piece it together at some point, but that's very long term.
Okay.
Yeah, we have an original plan to go all the way out East College, all the way to Patrick, to sort of help connect with YMCA, walkability and those type of things. But it's a blended residential and commercial, so it's really difficult when those properties change hands, and maybe we can build sidewalks there based on the development. But yeah, it is a challenge financially to do that.
And our next question is, how is the town balancing growth pressures with the need to preserve farmland and green space?
That might be more difficult.
Well, we do some of that with our long-range zoning plans, the zoning map, so that when something's requested to be zoned or rezoned, is it consistent with the long-term plan?
That's a hard one too, you know, but we have a lot of farmland, so it's real. We use the term, what's the term we have used? Respectful growth. We do take that into consideration anytime new developer wants to come into town or something like that, you know. We really want to maintain our small town as long as possible. And it's already changed a lot in my lifetime.
And I think a lot of that is in the zoning, like Pat talked about, is if it's a business, it has to have a certain amount of buffer, and some of it is that green buffer, trees, vegetation, that type of stuff that sort of helps protect this business from the residential portion. And as we have a blended community like that, it's really hard to keep up and keep that pace on that. But I think our zoning and zoning rewrites has helped us come closer to the mark. Tough question.
Are there any main funding gaps that we should be aware of currently?
What was the question?
Are there any main funding gaps that we should be aware of?
Yes.
I think we're all concerned about how federal monies might dry up. what's Zach say, creative revenue, what's the?
Creative
What's the line?
Rhonda gets mad when I try to do creative accounting.
That's frowned upon in my profession.
But it's better than that.
I understand that.
But it's a fine line because you gotta, if you want a thriving, growing community, you do it based on bringing in other businesses and build the tax, ad valorem tax. And if you don't do that, then you have to tax existing people. And then there's just so much you can tax people. And, so we're hoping that business growth will continue to lead us down that. And then we've not had the residential boom like we did in the '80s, but hopefully as interest rates fall and the housing market, you will continue to see growth in both those areas, which expands our tax base, gives us more money to work with. Anybody else? I'm sorry, I talked too much.
And I think that, our citizens are who we're taking care of, and trying to keep, the different sources that we've got down, and tax base and all that, so we're happy about how we're treating our citizens and taking care of them. We do have some new, in the upcoming months, some business coming in. Some of the buildings are gonna be occupied, we hope, so that's a big thing for our citizens.
And then our last question is, how will progress on these plans be tracked and reported back to the residents?
Well, I think a term I've heard Councilman Ellis say for the last several years is we want to see some dirt flying. And I think that you guys are gonna see that as you head into your final semester, that Main Street's gonna be a mess, maybe, we'll see, I don't mean to presume the council's vote. But the stoplight, a lot of it you'll be able to see. Things that are underground with the infrastructure, I think we have to, continue to do a good job. I think we do a great job on Facebook. It's interesting how people seem to miss what is plastered all over Facebook all the time. But communicating in that way, the things that are more unseen, like infrastructure when water and sewer are underground, road paving, things like that. So, but this major project that we anticipate, hopefully getting to, not trying to sway your vote or anything, but you'll be able to see it, and I think that's gonna be I think that what we've talked about is that when the people see things beginning to happen, then they are more understanding, hopefully, about where their revenue is going.
Right.
And then if it's acceptable and positive for people, then that revenue will be more available in a way.
Yeah, 8 or 10 years ago, we did some improvements and then we put these huge concrete walls on Main Street. And we very quickly, people called and people said, we hate those. Who chose that? Who did that? So I think that we've always been very receptive to the community, what they want, what they need. We try to have community buy-in. But you're not gonna please everybody either. So I mean, we're trying to do the best we can with respectful growth and moving it down.
And we got that money. Money's always a big thing.
Yeah.
Zach, our town manager's done an excellent job on providing the money. So the things we're getting ready to do, some of them are paid for. So we don't have to go a different direction. We're excited about what's gonna happen. I know our citizens are, what's going on? We hear about things, but it's tied up. A year ago, I was excited about the stoplight was getting ready to be fixed. And not knowing this, a year and a half later, we've not done anything except plan. So all that's in the works, and we're fixing to get a headache. I say, let's get some dirt moving, but it's gonna be a big headache. Traffic and all that downtown Main Street, Bowling Springs. But in time, it's gonna be beautiful again.
Those are great questions.
Do you have any
Yeah,
other
thank you.
questions for us? It's okay if you don't.
We're just glad Gardner Webb is included in all this.
And that you all are partnering with us.
Yes.
And trying to help us and grow as a town and grow respectfully. I mean, we really appreciate the partnership with you all and us. We really, really do appreciate this. Helping us find some direction, do a 5-year plan, and put it to paper.
Well, we talked about this, we've read a lot of things, have gone through a lot of previous documents and planning maps and all the things, and we do have come to the conclusion that you have done a very good job thus far in this, in strategic planning. I mean, so what you have, the bones and what you've done is excellent. So
So is that a component that will be looked at of how the growth of the university will impact our strategic planning and growth?
Yeah, in my opinion, yes. I mean, we feel like we talked about this in the spring, but, you know, it can be a beautiful reciprocated relationship, right? And it should be. And so I hope that the data is gonna support that. And I would imagine that there's gonna be at least one pillar in there about that partnership and how we can, in the next 5 years, and then I know that we're, sorry. I know that there might be, maybe in Gardner Webb's future strategic plan too, that would also be that other part of that with, partnership with the town. So, yeah, absolutely, great question. Great question. Thank you.
Class of 2001, go Dogs.
Thank you.
Speaking of the barbecue bowl champion, Mr. Evans from Gardner Webb.
So, I don't have children, but I bet this is what it feels like in a proud parent moment. To have them stand up here and go through that. So, thank you for the partnership there. I won't belabor it, but I do want to underscore it. Couple more updates, and then I've got to bolt to another event, so appreciate the chance to come squeeze in here tonight. Exciting weekend on campus. We had over 100 prospective students and families for a dog day on Saturday morning. I expect they fill up restaurants and stores all around when that happens. And yes, we hosted the barbecue bowl, and more importantly, won. And I do not have to go to Charleston to feed the Charleston Southern football team. So my wife's disappointed we didn't have to go to Charleston, but we're not feeding a football team plates full of barbecue. So coming up, several big weekends for us. Not this weekend, but the next weekend is homecoming. Excuse me. We will be hosting a golf tournament, a soccer match, a football game, a cook-off, probably 5 or 6 other events that just haven't made the list yet. So encourage everybody to come on out, be involved. We love the atmosphere. Football games, sporting events this year have been amazing. Men's soccer team is still staying inside the top 25. Volleyball and other sports are still running strong. Basketball is just right around the corner, believe it or not. And then the end of homecoming, we have 2 final events for that. One will be a concert at the Brinkley Amphitheater, Cassette Rewind. They've been at Webstock several times. It is free. The first 300 individuals who present a game ticket get in for free. If not, it's $10 after that. So a pretty good opportunity for town and gown folks to come out and see a concert on a Saturday night, and then worship at the Web the next morning, and that's open, of course, to the community as well. And then the last thing that I have coming up is on October 30th, we'll kind of have an Oktoberfest Fall Festival, trunk or treat, whichever term you want to use. That's from 6 to 8, just outside of the OYCC. So that is in partnership with the YMCA. That is free. Kids get pizza, they get candy, they get all the fun games and prizes and things like that. So help us encourage, get folks out there, and we appreciate all you guys do for the partnership. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
Thank you.
Is there anyone that would like to speak on an issue that is not on the agenda?
My name is Fred Bell. I'm a citizen, and I just really want to thank the staff for Saturday. It was a really good event from my perspective. Thought it was well done. The vendors that I spoke to all were very happy, and I think that was a very good reflection on the town. So I want to thank all of you for that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Please.
Good evening, I'm Steve Patchett, Director of the Small Business Center over at Cleveland Community College. I'm here to announce my retirement. It's been a long time since I started over there back in 2009, but it's been a blessing, and I have really enjoyed every moment that I've spent there. I'm here to say thank you to you folks for allowing me to open a satellite office here, and thank you especially to the town manager for giving me a room to work, and it happens to be right at the front door of the police chief, so I feel real safe. But I just want to thank you for your support of the Small Business Center all this time. I did have a client just last week that I finished working with him on a lot of things, getting ready, got his business plan put together and everything, and he's now in the process of getting funding, getting ready to open his new business. So we're working on some things there. But end of October, that's this month will be my final time, and I do want to thank you for your support. But I'd like to leave you with my signature tribute to entrepreneurs, because I've learned how to love them. They're my kind of people. It took me a while, but I finally figured them out, and that's my kind of people. And they are like this comment that I want to make. It is a little bit interesting that a lot of people will say, you know, it can't be done, you can't do that. Well, somebody said it couldn't be done, but he with a chuckle replied that maybe it couldn't, but he'd be one who wouldn't say so till he tried. So he buckled right in with a bit of a grin on his face. If he worried, he hit it. He started to sing as he tackled that thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. Somebody scoffed, oh, you'll never do that, at least no one's ever done it. But he took off his coat, and he took off his hat, and the first thing we knew, he'd begun it. With the left of his chin and a bit of a grin, without any doubt he quit it. He started to sing as he tackled that thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. There are thousands to tell you it cannot be done. There are thousands to prophesy failure. There are thousands to point out to you one by one the dangers that wait to assail you. But just buckle in with a bit of a grin. Just take off your coat and go to it. Just start to sing as you tackle that thing that cannot be done, and you'll do it. That's an entrepreneur. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, should we end the meeting? Thank you I've known you for a long time. I appreciate what you do and have done. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda, or is there any, I know I ask this every month, do we have to do we adopt the agenda when we adopt the consent agenda?
You have to
say
say
that,
that,
right?
yeah.
Okay. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
I make the motion to adopt the consent agenda as listed.
Councilman Blue with the motion. Second from Councilman Ellis. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Consent agenda is adopted. All right, I'll figure that out one day. All right, we need to open a public hearing at 7:04 on the zoning map amendment for parcel 459. Mr. Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, excuse you, can you give us the page number, Tracy, please?
No.
Because that other document is really long.
Yeah, that road,
87?
87,
I guess, sir. That's Safe Streets for All Action Plan. Takes up a little bit of space. Mr. Cook is gonna come and present this zoning map amendment petition for you all.
Good evening, Council. Hard to follow Mr. Paget, but we have government work to do now, so we'll see what happens. Zoning map amendment for parcel 459. It is owned by Kenneth Humphreys, and it is managed by his son Stevie, and it is being rented to two separate people there. There is a salon, and then there's another business that is open that is a tattoo parlor, and I think she does piercings as well. For it to be in compliance, it needs to be zoned B2. It is currently zoned B1. And so she came and got everything sorted out and put in the application for a map amendment. We met last month in September with the planning board, where they voted unanimously to approve due to its consistency with the land use plan. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions or comments from council? Oh, wait. We have to let people speak first before. Yes. Is there anybody here that would like to speak on this? Zoning. No? Okay. All right, so we'll close the public hearing at 7:06. Questions and comments from council? If not, is there a motion to adopt the rezoning?
I make a motion to adopt the rezoning.
Okay, that from Councilman Thomas. Is there a second? Second from Councilman Litton. Further discussion? Questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Carries unanimously. All right, on to NCDEQ bridge loan. Mr. Parker.
Yes, so, goodness, I'm sorry. We have got, in the consent agenda, you all, budgeted appropriated our first bridge loan to a capital project ordinance so that we can complete the Homestead Loop. That was the $1.37 million loan. Since the time that we accepted that loan, they have changed the repayment schedule. So instead of it being 0% over 5 years, it's now 0% over 10 years. And when DEQ made that change, they offered an additional round of funding. And so we had submitted a supplemental application, and we were the last application in the state approved. And so our $1.5 million is the last remaining bit of the pot still sitting there. And so that's what you all have here before you. The reason this wasn't in consent is because I don't know that we've discussed it publicly yet or openly in this forum. So what you've got here is the formal acceptance of additional funding from the NCDEQ Helene-related bridge loan. This funding would be used to replace poor performing terracotta clay sewer lines that are along the Woodland Avenue area. And so that's Woodland, Hamrick, Cove Street, and then Fairview. This is right behind the, just right across the street here behind the Subway and behind the Vintage Dog, that neighborhood there. You've got a photo here. Let's see what page number, that should be 95. And it shows you it's a strange orientation of that line. And so you see there how the line moves diagonally from Woodlands to Hamrick. It follows an existing stormwater culvert, a stormwater drainage path. This has been in our crosshairs and on my list because we're attempting to replace all the clay lines. But this area in particular, because the diagonal nature of that line, as you see after it crosses over Hamrick, it runs diagonally and cuts a couple of parcels there. The problem with that is it essentially renders one of these parcels useless because in conformance with our current downtown design overlay district, the parcel there at East College, it's the only vacant one there that you can see in the bottom corner between the house and the Subway strip mall center there. They would need to build the new building at the street. So that would mean the parking would have to be in the back, and they cannot build a parking lot on top of our sewer line. And so if they ever wanted to put parking in there, it would need to be gravel. This is also on the receiving end downstream of the property at the old Boiling Springs Mill, where we've discussed with Mr. Pearson about some potential economic development activity. We don't want to enter into any kind of industrial or heavier use there with terracotta clay lines downstream. And so this project would allow us to eliminate these. The lines shown here, we would replace them all with PVC lines that are up to our current code and standards. And ideally, as long as an engineer says that we can, and it's engineering, it's a possible engineering feat, we would take that diagonal line there and eliminate it and we would reorient the road so that the drainage was such that it would flow into an existing manhole. And I'm not an engineer, but that is not rocket science and shouldn't be too much of a terrible task. So
would you reroute it down Hamrick Street?
I think ideally we would go down Hamrick
and then come out over to
Fairview.
Fairview.
Yes, sir.
And so that would eliminate the diagonal line altogether.
Yes, sir. That's what I think we would probably do, but there would need to be some engineering and other things. But with this funding, we should be able to accomplish all of those tasks, including replacing the road and changing the road orientation if needed. This would be a 10-year loan at 0% interest, and we would not need to make a payment until 2035. But at that time, it is one payment in full. So it's a $1.5 million single payment. And so that's the way that they've currently structured this. Of course, we would not We would not imagine that in 2035, we wanna, well, I guess in 2034, when we were setting the rates, I wouldn't think we would wanna raise the rate so that we could make that payment. So it's something we would begin easing in, to the rate schedule and to our debt service payments over time slowly, like we've done in the past with our other capital improvement projects. But I am open, to questions.
So if there is a re-engineering and that's changed, that would also be re-engineered so that we can handle a greater capacity if that Western Dynasty was developed?
Yes, sir. We would wanna make sure it can handle the additional inflow of that. Also, it is downstream of Ingalls. So whatever Ingalls does in that parking lot, all of that comes through this same area. So we would wanna make sure it was large enough to handle any of that additional inflow.
And I imagine with the old terracotta, we get a lot of still of the ionized water infiltration.
We do, yes, sir.
So it sort of pays for itself for the long haul as we replace these things out, so.
We've replaced a portion of this line already, but once it hits Woodland, that's where we stopped last at that manhole. So in that picture there, the very top little dot, yeah, there we go. As it comes down, we stopped right there where it hits the top section of Woodland. So up until that point, it's PVC. We'll just need to pick back up there as the second phase of that replacement project. That phase was just through essentially a vacant field, and so it was minimal disruption.
So $150,000 a year can be captured by rate increases over 10 years.
Over 10 years, it can be captured by a combination of well, it can be captured by just rate increases. I don't know how much the rate would have to go up, but it is between the retirement of our debt service, which right now in that fund is $77,000 annually, which rolls off in 2030 completely. So that's 77 of it there. The remainder would certainly be made up in, we could certainly make that up in rate increases.
Well, I mean, that's 77,000 of 1.5 million, right?
That's 77,000 annually.
A year.
Yes, yes, sir.
Other comments or questions?
So potentially $385,000 or so for the 5 years of that we would not have to could be applied to that.
Yes, sir.
So that we're talking about still 1.15
Yeah.
million.
Absolutely. We do not typically qualify for this type of loan. So the state offers a similar type, it's not Helene related, but they offer these type of loans through what they call principal forgiveness. They do that pretty frequently to individuals who are on the distressed list, but we are not a candidate for that because our system's not distressed. But then the other thing that hits us is our median affordability rate is too low when we're compared to the rest of the state. So they measure it, it's the UNC School of Government dashboard, it's I think it's got 4 little meters on it, and it talks about your affordability so it takes your bill at 5,000 gallons and it compares that to the average household income or median household income. I think it's median household income, and then so it comes up with an affordability rate, and ours is too low for us to typically qualify for any kind of principal forgiveness funding.
And so some of the concern was, or some of the problems is that we don't have enough people on the system. The capacity of the plant is, what, 50-60%?
Yes, sir, a little over 50.
So if you have it at 75%, then then you build in these user fees and everything else, and it pays for the capital improvement. But that's where we're continuing to struggle because we can't catch up.
Right.
So we've had a lot of development that didn't require sewer at the time, so.
And we're working with, drop in the bucket, but, we've got the project moving forward with Holland Drive and Green Avenue, so we'll hopefully have some sewer extensions on Holland and Green. And then, as we move forward, we're looking at some other options, and so, we're working with Bolton Mink, our engineering firm, and they're looking at some other, Helene-related loans that would qualify for principal forgiveness. And the percentage of principal forgiveness varies depending on several different factors, but one of those is actually to replace failing or damaged septic systems. And so for us, that would likely mean the Homestead community, because that's where we would get the most bang for our buck, is expanding out there. We've not been awarded any of that money, so I don't want us putting any eggs in that basket, because I don't know that we've applied for that money yet. Wes says no, we have not yet. But, that's one option to pick up a significant amount of customers where we would have the minimal investment.
We have gravity going to the.
Yes, it would all gravity down, and so council several years ago, when we upfitted the, pump station down there at Poplar Grange, we upfitted them so that they could handle that inflow and be ready.
We put this money back every year and hold it, so we pay that 1.5 at the end of 10 years?
We could do that. We could put it back like that so that we would pay it all at once. I think that would be my preference, so that we could keep the interest.
And what's the contingency plan if we don't have enough at the end of 10 years?
I don't know that we would have a contingency plan. So, I mean, I think that we would have to make sure we showed the fiscal discipline on our side to make sure that we had the reserve needed to pay that large lump sum, but also to keep enough in the water sewer fund so that it was solvent moving forward. Because, so what that means is when we get our audits back, that quick ratio, assuming we take this, the quick ratio at about 2030, 2031 for water sewer fund is gonna be significant, and it's gonna be larger and larger and larger, because we've got one balloon payment coming up. So it's gonna look like we have a whole lot of money in the bank, but in actuality, that money's spent. We're just gonna make the payment at one time. And so it will be making sure that we're fiscally disciplined enough to understand that and to be able to say, okay, we know that we may show that we have an extra $1.5 million in the water sewer reserve, but we're holding on to it just for the interest.
Other comments, questions?
Is there a timeline on this as far as you submitting the application?
There is, not that I know of currently. Now, I will say, so I think if we wanted to, if you wanna let it, if we would like to let it sit, maybe we could table it until the end of the month at the next October meeting. Since the 28th, since we're not gonna meet in November, but, they are receiving significant pressure to get this money out the door as fast as possible. Because it is just sitting there at the state, and so they want it to get obligated and out the door. I will also say, that the reason this is the last bit of the money is because the state has taken the remainder of the funds out of that. They've de-obligated the remaining, I don't know what the technical account word is, but they put $100 million in, and they said, how much money do y'all have requested? And they told them a number, and they said, okay, well, we're taking the rest back. So, so that will just add additional pressures. Now, I say that, but I also wanna make sure that we're all comfortable moving forward. So if there's hesitancy, I wouldn't have any kind of problem, I think, saying, yeah, well, we're gonna talk about it and vote on it at the end of October, so we've had time to mull it over, if that's what council wants to do.
I think for me, I would be interested in knowing how, for example, the property over here that we're looking at taking on debt and potential overage of our Main Street project, and how all that would factor into a big picture with a fairly tight budget that we run every year anyway. I mean, we're looking at $2 or financial picture is that would allow us to budget $150,000 a year, or 80,000 with the 70, whatever. Yeah, that's just me, I don't wanna speak for the rest of the council.
No, I feel the same way.
I have, it is in no way, finalized or sound. But in preliminary discussions from a draft that I received, 7/30/2025, our current, AIA, which is our asset inventory and assessment, that's a grant funded project through DEQ, with McGill and Associates, that they've been working on for a couple of years. They are going to suggest at a minimum of a 10% rate increase for the foreseeable future, annually. Now, that's what they presented me with then. Because they're saying if we are not doing a 10% increase, then we're not covering what we need to cover with the capital improvements that we need.
Does that include this project, or is that, would this be in addition?
That's in addition to.
Right.
Now, if we do this, it will reshuffle the capital improvements that we need.
Right.
So some of those other improvements would be deferred, because this is on the deferred list. So it would just rearrange the capital that we would look at.
And then the unforeseen is that it could be a catalyst to build business. I mean, if that one property on College Avenue is able to build a building and have a parking lot, that's adding to our ad valorem tax. And then, just in the long run, if it helps develop Western Dynasty, but those are all things that's not seen now and not actual money.
Yes, and if somebody said, I'm going to I'm gonna put a business in Western Dynasty, I need you to redo the sewer line, and I'm gonna create 100 jobs, then I could take that to funding agencies, and they would give us a grant. Now, the grant would be a 70-30 split, or 80-20, but they will not give it to us unless we have that commitment from a company. And we're just not at a place, that building is not at a place where it is ready to have some kind of manufacturing center there.
But it is gonna have a big, beautiful firehouse across the street from it.
And it is, two stories.
Honestly, I really think will be attractive to
Yeah.
businesses, to me, seems like. Is there a motion to table, or is there a motion to proceed?
Make a motion that we table it and bring it back on October 28th with some of those financial implications.
Okay, that motion to table from Councilman Thomas, second from Councilman Ellis. Is there other discussion, other questions? On the motion to table, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? Okay, so we'll pick that back up in just a few weeks. Our November meeting will be on October 28th due to the election day. Let's see,
We'll need to table 3 as well.
So okay, because that Woodland is
Yes, sir.
related, so we'll just kind of package those together, or do we need to formally
You
table
don't have
it?
to. You can just take no action and we will bring it back.
Alright. So then that moves us to the DEQ, Department of Energy Management Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. There's some bureaucracy, Steve.
Yes, so this is the HMGP grant, I gotta flip there, I'm sorry. Let's see here. So, as part of the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, you all need to, before we can formally apply, I need you all to designate that you are allowing us to apply for this. There is no match to this. The reason it does not have a staff report is because they dropped it in at the very last minute. But all this is, it's a hazard, I don't wanna say it's a hazard mitigation grant because that's in the title, but it's to replace and repair our culverts. So you'll recall earlier this year, we had a culvert inventory completed. They said we needed about $2 million worth of culvert work. This would allow us to submit a grant to cover that work as part of our Helene recovery effort. There is no local match to this.
Any questions, comments? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was, but I just remembered you're designating, Mr. Cook to submit this.
Congratulations.
Thank you. He's thrilled.
Any questions, comments from council? If not, is there a motion to proceed with the HMG of the grant?
The resolution right there? Yeah, I make a motion that, we adopt the resolution 25-1007.03.
Councilman Thomas with the motion, Councilman Green with the second. Further questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those likewise, that is adopted. And we are on to Title IX ordinance review, which is a different Title IX.
It's a different Title IX, I do that every time. This is the, well, anyway, let's see here. So, we got this last month, I think, and so you've all got it. Just wanted to look at it, make sure, give everybody a chance to read over that. If you've got changes, suggestions, feedback, we can kick this down. We can do this on the 28th as well. But if there is no feedback on it, we wanted to see if council was comfortable adopting this and with the proposed changes. And so you've got in the staff report, we've been doing our annual-ish ordinance audit. And so then you've got that there, and I finally got it. Our system does not like when I try to share with you things, for which I click track changes. It does not care for that at all. And so we're having trouble. It's the software that we use to put the little item 5 and page number on your agenda packet. It does not like my changes. So that's why it looks a little weird. The same thing for the following ordinance. But if there are any questions on that, I am certainly here to answer them. You see there we've got some notes for us as well. There's some things where we've stricken. Certain items have been stricken. We've added a couple of things there. Most of these things, so everything under chapter 90 has to do with abandoned, nuisance, and junked motor vehicles. And those words mean something very specific to law enforcement and to other code enforcement officers, and they're in a very specific section of the state statutes, which is why there's so many changes there, because we have to use the statutory definitions for what's abandoned, what's junked, and what is nuisance. And so then we can follow some further guidelines and your power, wielding the power of the state for the harmony of our community. Yeah, so then we've got, there's no questions on 90. 91 is noise control. So noise control is 91. 92 is animals. My recollection of this is that we did not change anything procedurally with animals. Yes, it was just formatting. 93 was formatting and which is the regulations of the Broad River Greenway. That was just formatting, so there weren't any substantive changes there. And then 94, so 94 is the important one. So when we code enforce people, 99% of the time it's coming out of 94. These are the ones that are unlawful conditions on private property. And so in the first section there, we list them and say, these are the things, you can't do these things. And then right after that, we tell them what we're gonna do if they do those things. We told them they couldn't. And so anytime, most of the time, 99% of the time, it's 94 is the reason somebody's getting in trouble. And so I wanted to make sure as we continue to rebound from the hurricane, we've gotten some of those code enforcement abilities back from the General Assembly. So we're ready to start taking hopefully a more proactive approach on code enforcement, making sure folks are paying attention and getting things cleaned up in a timely manner. I wanna make sure this is in front of you all, so that we're not enforcing something that council wishes, was a little bit different, or there was a different take. One of the things I remember distinctly changing was on page 114 of your agenda packet, which was the inclusion of, page 114, and this is clause 10, any condition which blocks, hinders, or obstructs in any way the natural flow of storm water. Because people are clogging up our culverts. Streams, creeks, surface waters, ditches, and drains. And so, we were having some culvert problems, and so that's one of those remedies. The other change that, I thought was important is on 113, under section 94.01, unlawful conditions enumerated. Number 1, any weeds or overgrown vegetation having an overall height of more than, I changed 12 to 10. 10 is the standard now. I don't know why, but other people around us do 10 inches. I'm not sure why, but I changed that so that we're in conformity with what other folks are doing. Questions on any of that?
And that's on residential properties or only, or does that apply to all properties within the town?
This is any property within the town, any private property within the town. We are exempt from the ordinance. We'll grow our grass as high as we like.
So in essence, the changes that are made to Title IX is bringing our wording into what was already under a legal definition, strengthening our zoning so that we can take proactive enforcement and continuing to make our community a better place. Because with that, you give up some, some freedom. I mean, right, every time we make more ordinances, more code, then we surrender some of our freedom.
Absolutely, and I think it's, I've talked to y'all about this, I know at different points, and I know people will sometimes say, what's the most important part of your job? And I say, well, I'm not sure, I have to wrestle different things, but one of them is, and particularly important to Mr. Cook's job, is protecting property value, right? So we need, me, the government, I want your property to be worth as much as possible, so that we can stretch those pennies as far as possible. And so this is hopefully gonna shift us from being a reactive code enforcement, from a reactive model to a proactive model, not that we are going to be punitive or that we want to crush people under the harshness of the ordinance. We'll still do the courtesy cards. Now, those are not in here. They're not in here on purpose, because if there is a violation that is so egregious that we do not need to send them a courtesy card, we will just send them a notice of violation. But we send them a courtesy card now, and it's a nice little card with the picture of Gardner Webb on the back of the fall looking one with the cobblestone, and it says, hello, we've noticed you may be in violation of this ordinance, please have this cleaned up and remedied by, within 10 days of this notice. And then after that's when they get the letter that says, hello, you are in violation of blank. And so typically, we've seen good results with the card, the courtesy card.
And that was my concern is, we go to this idea of active enforcement again, and then last time we did this, it created a lot of pushback, and rightly so. I think, so I think as we move forward and we tell people and communicate why we're doing what we're doing, I think it would be helpful if we choose to
Yeah, and I didn't say the back end of my, but I didn't finish off my thought, which about property values, but we have to balance the preservation of property values with the preservation of individual rights and liberty. And your right to do what you want on your own land. And so there's a fine line there that we get to. And so typically where we try to draw that line is whenever what you're doing may impede, what your neighbor or your fellow citizen is doing. That's where we try to strike the balance. And it is an ever-evolving target.
The only other item I noted on there is the hours, the quiet time, I guess you would call it, between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m.
Yes, sir.
It seems like every year we get that question about the Crown playing, which doesn't bother me at all,
Correct.
but, you know, if that's the rule, they shouldn't play after 11 unless they come get a permit and it's approved.
Correct, and they do get a permit, well, so for the past 2 years, we've given them a permit.
Okay.
We usually get that request from someone at Gardner Webb in March or April. April, so, it's several months ahead of time, and they've gotten one of those. I will also say that, so I did, on 107, under clause C, restrictions of this chapter shall not apply to the following, you'll see that, there's a 3 there that has a line through it. Properly maintained vehicles operating in public roadways, not to include sound amplification equipment. That's so that if there is a vehicle that has been, that is loud and has a roar about it, either organically or otherwise, that person could be subject to a noise control violation. We get that a good bit.
Yeah, there are lots of those.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who would be responsible for enforcing it? Is that, is it gonna run out there, or is that,
No.
I mean, that's the town police, again, taking their focus off maybe something that, how will I say that? I mean, I just don't wanna burden the police with these things, when really it sounds like to me we can continue to be good stewards. We can say, this is what we're gonna do, help us make our community better. If not, here's the consequences.
Yes, I think so. I think there are parts of this, like the loud vehicle, where we probably would not want to over enforce, but at the same time, if there is a perpetual loud vehicle that has some type of modification to it that is leaving and arriving at midnight every night and waking up everyone on the block, this would allow us to say, hey, you need to stop, because you're creating a problem for the harmony of the community and the public health and well-being.
What's the pleasure of council? This can be adopted tonight, or we can push it to October 28th as well. I think I heard you say.
Yes, sir.
I will move that we adopt it as it is. I think we've already had it for a month. I don't think we need it for another 28, or how many days.
Okay, yeah. Motion to adopt from Councilman Wood is
Second motion.
second from Councilman Green. Is there discussion or further questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? All right. That is adopted, and now we're moving on to chapter 112, amusements. And I think there must be a typo in there.
There is.
Okay. I thought it said pool rooms could only be open between 11 and 9 a.m., which it does. From 1966, Bowling Springs, Tommy used to be, but no, so that should be 11 a.m. and 9 p.m.
So
Is that what we-
they cannot be open between 11 p.m. and 9 a.m.
Gotcha.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm sorry. They cannot be open, so they cannot operate
Okay.
after 11 or before 9. Now, currently, and you've got this on, I think it's weird in there, I'm sorry. It is on page 116 is the staff report, so then it does not have a page number, because again, it gets funky when I try to show it track changes, the program hates that, but it's on 117.
And so it's chapter 112, amusements, pool rooms, and billiard halls. I don't want to spoil any surprises, and we also do not have a permit yet or any kind of use request. But there may or may not be a pool room and billiard hall coming to a main street near you. And so prior to that, and I think it's probably good that we look at this again just because it's not been changed since, November of '66. Do we want to make any changes to this section of the ordinance? And if so, what are those changes? So we can vote on this tonight, or we can table it. I'm sorry, or we don't even need to table it, and we can just put it on next on the agenda for the 28th. And what you've got in your staff report is staff request feedback, specifically on hours of operation and defining the word operation. And so, pulling it up in here. So, Mr. Schweppe and I had an email exchange about this because I need to know exactly what the word operate means in your minds, because I need to know if that means people can't play pool after 11 p.m. at all, or if it means they can't start a new game of pool, or they can't sell alcohol, the building has to be vacant. I kind of need us to narrow that down. And so, John, I don't want to put you on the spot.
Now that, not the same magic language, but to the fact that if it's open for business for the purpose which the business is, so whether they're playing or not, or eating or not, or whatever, but if it's open for business without, for the purpose of their operation, should use the word operation. But, if it's open for business, it's kind of, it's the general way I would see it. Simple as that, I would think, but I mean, it's, I don't know what other really frank, I started toying around with the ordinances, and that word's all throughout the word, all throughout ordinances, and, it seems to be that, that's the kind of framework that the intention is that, operate means open for business. I mean, that they might they might be there cleaning and having janitorial services, that's fine, right? So it's open to the public for which that business is for, is kind of operations, I would think.
So what about, what kind of stipulations and operating hours could we, put on Ben's Dog? I know it's not a pool hall, a billiard hall.
Outside of our zoning ordinances and outside of the ABC permit requirements that are outlined in our code of ordinances, I'm not aware of any.
So why would we put different, operating hours on the billiard hall / bar versus what we don't have on the Ben's Dog? I'm just asking.
No, in General Statute 160A, under your police power, so that's that same, the same power that we've had in Title IX. So to protect the community, health and wellness and well-being and safeguard, all that's under your police power. And so specifically in that portion of the statute, it says that you may regulate the operation of amusements, including but not limited to billiard rooms, pool halls, goes into like circuses and the fair and things like that. And so my assumption is that when we initially adopted this ordinance in 1966, I know there was a pool hall in town at the time. I don't know that I guess my question to you all is, does this regulation still do what you want it to do? And if not, how can we change it to accomplish the goal that you all have for our town? Because it is a specific regulation of just that use. And we don't typically do use-specific regulations like this. But we do because it's enumerated in the statute that you are allowed to regulate it as an amusement. Does that answer your question, Councilman Wood?
I guess kinda sorta.
Kinda, sorta,
Is your question, why would we regulate this differently than we would
anybody else?
anybody else? So that is a political question.
That's what,
That's a political question. Why we do things is political. I can't tell you that. I can't give you an answer on that one.
Because it's on the books from a 1966 ordinance.
Yes, so
Unless we repeal the ordinance or we say.
we will enforce this unless you tell me not to.
And so if we have a business that's willing to come in and occupy a vacant space now, provide income, employees,
Yep.
then we have to hope that it will be an upfront and good establishment, and we do nuisance abatement and all that enforcement through the local police if it becomes something different. And,
Right.
you know, either we need to repeal it, change it, or maybe not have that business in town, so.
Right. And I will add potentially for context that I should have led with, there is a conflicting portion of the ordinance. So, the second clause, which is section 112.02, obstruction of view of interior prohibited, that conflicts with the downtown design overlay. And so if they want to change the windows in that building, we are gonna have two ordinances that say different things. I'm gonna tell you that we're gonna defer to the downtown design overlay because you passed it more recently. I don't know if that's the legal answer.
and what would that say?
That it has a percentage of glazed area, that it has to be certain, I think it's 80% of the area has to be glazed. But it also has rules about roll cages and things like that in there. So it is the most restrictive rule, and because it's more restrictive than this, that's the one we would defer to.
So would or would not frosted windows be allowed?
Did you say would or would not?
Yes, I'm asking a question.
Some frosting is required.
Okay, some frosting is required.
Any other, not this one, it's in the other one.
Yes, sir.
This one says
In the
you can't do
downtown
it.
design overlay.
It says you can't do it.
Correct. So if they wanted to put like, those calls to action, like sometimes you'll see places where it says, you know, like they have the vinyl on there that says like, you know, bar, pool, whatever. That is an obstruction of the interior. And so in this ordinance says they can't do that.
What if we just do away with this ordinance, and if we have issues, then we deal with the issues?
Yeah, so these, that is certainly within the power of council. If you want to repeal this, we will repeal it and take it
Well,
away.
I kind of agree with, Councilman Wood, you know, it appears to me that we're telling them they can't do something, but down the street, they can do it. I think the two need to, either we need to tell the vintage dog, they can't ever, not just the vintage dog, anybody else, that you can't do that. I think we're talking out of both sides of our mouth, you can't do this, and you can.
I will also add, so this is different than the development ordinance. So in the UDO, there are vested rights and other things that people are grandfathered. If you pass an ordinance today, it applies tomorrow to everyone. And so if we take this away and put it back, it will apply from that day forward. So it would be so let's assume that we got rid of it, and then we, in 2 months, say, no, we actually don't want them to be open after 9 p.m. You could do that. Their hours of operation would have to immediately adjust to comply with the ordinance. And so.
And does that, hours of operation, does that read correctly? It says they can't be open between 12 and 9 a.m. during weekdays. What about Saturday and Sunday? They be open all night?
So on, the initial ordinance says that they can't be open between the hours of 11 p.m., 11 p.m. and 9 a.m. during weekdays or at any time on Sundays.
What about Saturday night?
They could be open, I presume, all night on Saturday night. But then I guess at midnight they had to close because it was Sunday.
But that's where the political nature comes in, you're talking about, do we want this type of establishments in our town? And are we trusting enough in our permitting process and to deal with things that come? Or do we not want this? Just like the same thing we ran into with Tattoo Park. Do we want this or not?
And that is all within your broad authority to wield the power of the state for the well-being and all the things I said earlier of the community.
So
Right.
they're not gonna be able to be open Sunday at all.
Correct.
But the Vintage Dog, though they're not now, they could be open Sunday if they chose to. There's nothing
There,
to keep them.
we have no regulation on the hours of the Vintage Dog unless it is contained within,
But once again,
I heard any time on Sunday marked out.
yeah, on the proposed ordinance, we marked that part out.
Oh,
This is the proposal.
Yeah, so this is the proposed change, the red
I
lines
think
there.
it should.
Hmm.
I think then the dog could be open on Sunday, I think.
yeah.
I'm gonna be fair to the gentleman who we're talking about here too. We're assuming he's gonna come in here and he's gonna be running a pool hall rather than a billiard hall, and there is a difference, I think.
Yes.
So we're kind of penalizing him before the end. We have no evidence that that's gonna be the case.
Correct.
I mean, it could be a very nice, well-kept, law-abiding, people come in and have to shoot a game of billiards. I like to shoot a game of billiards every once in a while myself.
But politically, if it isn't, you had the chance to not allow it. That's,
If you can regulate it.
that's the political question, but you're saying that if it turns out to be a seedy establishment, then the council has the chance to go back and it will apply, there's no grandfathering and all that, so.
They can be open from 5 AM to 6 AM, and that's it, they get 1 hour a day. I'm sure John probably would say that's a precedent ordinance of that.
Seems like there's a lot of flexibility.
Swing for the fence.
I would rather have something in place and then modify it later, rather than have nothing and then come in there and put restrictions on someone.
But I think if we wanna restrict their hours, we need to be restricting everybody's hours. One of the concerns we've got here is because they're gonna be selling alcohol, we think maybe they're gonna get rowdy and stuff because they're shooting pool, where they could get just as rowdy as Vintage Dog if they could here. I think the only thing problem here is the Vintage Dog has a track record. We know what they're doing. This gentleman, he doesn't really, I kinda feel like we're penalizing him before the fact. And I don't know him, I don't know anything about him.
I think, so we can, if you all want us to continue to work and massage this until the 28th, we can do that. I'm open to whatever you all want to do. If Councilman Green is suggesting that we need to draft an ordinance to say that, no bill.
I don't think there doesn't seem to be consensus on a particular plan. So I think it sounds like there's some people we're a little bit all over the map, so I think that, a chance to stew on it a little bit for a couple of weeks, and then perhaps we could have a discussion that leads towards a solution.
We can do
I
that.
really don't understand why we'd have, an ordinance here that's gonna conflict with another ordinance.
Yeah, so that,
I mean, that's.
112.02 obstruction of view of interior prohibited is somewhat problematic, but we don't have a permit from any individual yet, so we won't have to navigate that we wouldn't have to navigate that until November anyway. So on the assumption that at minimum at our next meeting, we could probably strike that section. Or I added some language there, to give you the widest possible berth, so it just says this section only applies to pool rooms and billiard halls located outside of the downtown design overlay district contained within the town's UDO. So that you have the maximum possible, that assumes that you want to continue to regulate, this.
And just to be clear from my own understanding, the UDO regulation, you would have to be able to see in the window. But outside, you could put the frosting. I'm saying like within the UDO, there has to be visibility inside the establishment. Is that correct?
Only within the downtown, they want it to be glazed, but it means glass. So it needs to be some kind of transparent or opaque. And then it talks about frosting in there, which is where he's gonna run into a problem. Because this says he cannot obstruct at all the interior of the view of the building.
Right.
So if he were to put up I don't know this, but in my head, I'm wondering, a lot of times, you'll drive by and see places, I'm trying to think of a good example that's not a convenience store, but you know, they'll put up on the outside in the window, like we have, you know, pool halls here, we have whatever that is. Any obstruction would be in violation of this ordinance.
I personally do prefer that. I would rather be able to see inside the business.
So it sounds like we need to let the staff work on this, give us back a proposal, with some changes, maybe looking at the ABC laws and how those may or may not apply to a time frame, and then looking at, you know, whether we need to put some time frames on there, and then the overall, how it needs to match up with the UDO. Is that, yeah, I mean, consistent with whatever?
We'll send you the language specifically from the downtown design overlay. That way we can kind of look at that beside this to see what we're looking at. And we may want to tweak some of that language too. I know I don't like to get use specific because we don't regulate individuals like that typically. But there has also been some discussion about putting similar to what Pleasant City has, where the windows will open.
We're right, sure.
Yes, and I'm not sure that would be allowed either. I've gotta go back and revisit that, to read it again, because I remember specifically that it talks about roll cages and roll windows and that kind of movable window, and I'm not sure that would be permitted. So I'll have to look at that too.
Can you also give us examples of what other municipalities do? We've looked at that type in the past.
Absolutely.
All right, so that was all the appetizer. Now we'll move on to the South Main Street Project Bid Award. Ooh. So, Mr. Park?
Yes, so Mr. Brown's gonna come up. Wes Brown is our esteemed engineer. I can't remember his title, but it's something very important and long and has lots of words that have the word senior in it. So he is the senior something at Bolton and Mink, and he is gonna present to you all from the letter you've got there in front of you.
That's just because my beard is gray.
Nice.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Pleasure to be here tonight. I've been working with Zach on this project, getting the plans and preparations together for the bid opening that we had today for quite some time. And so it's exciting to see this move forward into the next phase. Excited to be here with you all as you make your decision on how you'd like to move forward with this. Very, very nice project, going to be a big improvement for the downtown, so very exciting project if it moves forward. We did open bids today. We received 3. This was the second time we opened bids because we attempted to open them on September 23rd and we only received 1, and by state law you have to receive 3 in order to open, so then you have to re-advertise, and then at that point, if you only get 1, you can open 1, but in this case we got 3 the second time around. So the cover letter that you have in front of you is kind of the summary of the results of that, and then the bigger sheets is the actual breakdown by individual bid item for every single item that was in the bid that the contractors filled out when they prepared their bids. And so we don't need to get into the details of all of those items unless you'd like to. The yellow highlighting, I will point out though, those are numbers that when we tallied the bids, so they provide the bids in kind of a written format, and then we check them and compare and make sure that there are no math errors and things like that. So the yellow highlights are where we found some math errors. Sometimes those math errors can actually flip which is the low bidder. In this case, it did not. But it did change the low bidder's number by a little bit. So that is represented, actually it's not represented in the cover letter, but it is represented on the summary. So there are some slight numerical changes that need to be noted with this. And I'll talk about that in a second. So the other thing I want to point out is you're looking at some numbers on your sheet that includes 3 bidder names: Green Building Corporation, TEPBD, and Sossman Construction. Those were 3 bids that we received. Each of those bidders provided 3 numbers. One is the total base bid amount, which is the bulk of the project. That's the traffic signal, the water main, the sidewalk, the courtyard, all the streetscape improvements that are part of the project. The bid alternate A was an option that we included to switch the water main pipe material from a PVC, from a ductile iron pipe material that was included in the original base bid to a PVC material. So there's a cost savings associated with that was included in the bid, just to provide a comparison and see which direction the town wanted to go from a material standpoint. The bid alternate B number is for an add-on to the project of some decorative inlays in the concrete that are like a bulldog paw print. I don't know if Zach has shared that concept with you guys in detail, but we did get pricing for that, and we can talk more about that as well. So then when you look at these totals, really you're wanting to look at the total base bid amount and then make a decision whether you want to include bid alternate A and or bid alternate B at your discretion. So the low bidder was Sossaman Construction. When we read the bids, it was $2,029,075.01. However, after making the corrections due to some math error that they had, that number is about $9,000 less at $2,020,521.41 for their base bid. And then their following bid numbers there for alternate A was a deduct of $52,656 to switch to that PVC pipe material. And then the bid alternate B for the pop print inlays in the sidewalk is an $86,400 add for that. So, with that, we've reviewed all the information that was submitted. They met all the requirements that were set forth in the bidding documents, and assuming that the funds are in place, and that is up for discussion, of course, at this time, we would recommend moving forward with Sossaman Construction as the low responsible bidder, and then let you select, bid alternate A and bid alternate B at your discretion. That award should be made contingent upon one thing. We have not yet received the plan approval from the DOT on the signal. That has been in for their review now for at least a couple months, and so we're expecting that any time, but we would not want to award the contract and start moving forward until we have their blessing on the design. They may have some minor adjustments they'd like to see. So, questions for me? And I know Zach, you'd like to add some comments as well. Any questions for me at this point?
I have a question that will probably display my ignorance, but what goes into the engineer's estimate and what factors are involved that would make that off by that number?
That, since COVID, that has been a challenge. Cost increases, especially on things like electronics, like in the signals and different material items, have become very volatile, very difficult to estimate. In addition to that, I think in this part of the state, it has been challenging because contractors are very busy. There's a lot of work happening, and so it's hard to even get bidders. We're happy to see 3. The first time around we got 1, and we're like calling contractors trying to generate interest, right? So I think a lot of it is it's just a lot of busyness. This project does have also a lot of different types of work. It has a traffic signal, it has a water main, it has sidewalk work, it has some courtyard decorative type things in it. So it's a lot of different trades. And so as soon as you start adding more subcontractors in, it's always very difficult to estimate who's going to put what dollar amount on it. So
Thank you.
the good news is that these all came in relatively close to each other, so that tells us that the numbers are correct. It's not like one's way out in left field and one's way on the other side. So that's always good news.
Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna run through a quick PowerPoint, and then we can have Wes back up if y'all got questions for him, if that's okay. So South Main bid award, what we're paying attention to is that total base bid, and so Wes talked about the total base bid, and that's the total amount for the scope of work that we put out. And so then there were 2 alternate plans or additions. So one of those was to take that water line and change it from ductile iron pipe to PVC. So that would be a cost saving measure. We would sacrifice for some cheaper PVC pipe, which I'm sure is the best PVC pipe they can make, but it is still a plastic pipe rather than it being ductile iron. And then the second alternate there was to add those Gardner Webb themed paw prints. We talked about that kind of towards the very, very end. Wes and I discussed it during the very end. of the bidding, of the engineering work and preparation of those bidding construction documents, and wanted to do it as an addendum to see what that cost would be and whether it would be cost prohibitive to include that, because it's a natural placemaking kind of amenity. I keep hitting the wrong button, I'm sorry, I keep going backwards. So you've got the 3 bids there, and you see, Sossaman's is the low bid, at, just over $2 million. Staff recommend awarding the bid to Sossaman Construction in that amount, contingent on, that signal plan being approved, by North Carolina DOT. To that point, we reached out to DOT today to see if they had an update on that. We will reach out again tomorrow. And so we'll just move them to our daily call list. Sossaman's alternate 1, so changing from ductile iron pipe to PVC would have saved $52,000 roughly, but adding those pole prints would have cost an additional $86,000, which seems high to me. And so current funding outlay, so what you've got left in that budget remaining in that capital project fund that we started with at a little bit over 1.8, we've got 1.593 left. And so that leaves us with a variance of about $426,000. I know that sounds like a big number, and compared to all the other things that we've already talked about tonight, it is a big number. So what I'm wanting to help see here is how do we get from, and you all have a copy of this slideshow printed off, so you should have it there in front of you. I didn't know if y'all would be able to see it there on the screen. And so how do we get from where we are to securing those funds at 426, 803, 41? So a couple different avenues we can take. Option 1 is to look at the general fund balance, which currently we are projecting to be $619,000. That is not what we recommend. We are not recommending that option. We could do that if we had to, but that's not what I'm hoping, what we're recommending that we do. Option 2 is taking out the water sewer funds balance, and they've got a little over 1.2 million in there. Again, that's not what I think we need to do. Option 3 is to let us explore options. Okay, so the important thing before we go down that path is we will not write one check for $2 million. We will write a series of checks that eventually equal $2 million. So it's amortized out over the next several months. It actually crosses operating budget year, so it will go past July, or it will go past June 30 of next year. And so we don't have to tonight, at the time of the award, have all $2 million in hand. And so that gives us time to go out and look at other potential options for funding. And those include things I've put up here. So we've applied for a part of grant that will cover half the cost of the whole property purchase. We've got potentially FEMA funds under category Z, which are the administrative charges and the administrative costs that we will get back, and that's billing FEMA for the time that I've spent, that Rhonda has spent, that Mike has spent on our project. There is $50,000 in the general fund operating budget for special projects and downtown enhancements that could potentially be pulled if needed. There's another $50,000 in system development fees that we could pull and apply to the line because it's a capital improvement for the water system. I don't think we need to use that there. I think there's gonna be other options. But if we have to find the money tonight, that's where we'll look. There is the potential of so it's got on there a projected contingency amount of $190,000 for fiscal year 26-27. That's assuming we carry the same contingency appropriation forward in next year's budget. And so that's where that 190 came from. And then grant funding, including North Carolina Commerce, Grow NC, which is the Governor's Resiliency Office for Western North Carolina, I think, is what it stands for. And so they're doing some things in the aftermath of Helene to strengthen and build resilient communities post-Helene. Potential ARC funding and other funding sources that we are gonna, hopefully, if this is awarded, we'll start tapping those. And then some other potential, external funding sources, and I left that ambiguous on purpose. Because we've got some other entities that we work with frequently, and potentially private foundations who we can reach out to, who may be attracted to the types of courtyard and placemaking improvements that we're investing in, as part of a wider getting people outside wellness strategy. The last slide is just the current, it's the breakdown of those current numbers. So it's the, now it's the funding sheet unaudited. So these are not the audited numbers from Mary Grace and Daryl Keller, but this is the projections of fund balance available, unrestricted water sewer fund, and then that capital project fund, so that you can see where we've spent money out of that capital project fund for the current, well, it's got on there from fiscal year 24-25 and 25-26. And then you have a staff report there that says we recommend approving and awarding that contract. I don't think it says contingent on the DOT approving the signal plan, but to Sossaman Construction for $2 million. Sorry, gotta flip back. Yes, $2,020,521.41. Contingent on Norcon DOT approving the signal plan for the intersection. That approval would have an unstated mandate, I think, for staff to work to fill in that $426,000 gap with external funding rather than appropriating our current internal funds to meet that need. We are not recommending that we pursue alternate plan 1 or 2 at this point. And I am ready for questions.
So we went, instead of a revenue neutral tax rate this past year, we went like half the percent, halfway?
Yes, sir.
So was that the $297,000 that's going into general funds? I mean, where's that money that was generated? Is that already been appropriated somewhere?
Are you talking about, so there's
a number 297.5.
That is the portion of the funding that we have to use to cover the land purchase beside the park. And so we, instead of doing the revenue neutral rate at 28-ish, we went to 34. And so some of that was $190,000 into contingency that we used to front load that. That left $50,000 in the operating budget for downtown projects. Downtown enhancement, I think, has $10,000, and then there's special projects with $40,000, which we put there as a potential contingency for this project. And so that's where that's coming from.
I thought the number that we had budgeted was 1.8.
1.855, I think is the.
So why do we only have 1.5?
So we have expended, let me see here, oh, I'm going the wrong way again, Tracy, this thing, I think it's, so on the last page here, it shows you where, there we go, so it's 1.885 in grant revenues. And so in fiscal year 24-25, we spent $214,911. And then in fiscal year 25-26, we spent 121, is that 121 or 171? 121,371. So that would have been a combination, not all of that is engineering. The engineering cost should be 185. That's what this big book is, I'm sorry. And so that would have been a portion of it, but then we've also spent some money already for line removal and replacement, and I can give you a breakdown of those expenses.
That if it was spent on the project.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, that's
Yes, that's what it is. So we've already been, as the invoices come in, Rhonda codes them to this capital project ordinance. So we're doing that kind of pay as we go.
Was the first bid that came in much less? I thought I read that it was under budget. Is that not? I thought that was the message I received.
The forecast was under, the forecasted in the 1.7, yes, sir.
But he was talking about the one bid we got the first go round.
Yeah, that answered my question.
Yes. Now, the first, so I actually think, the courtyard, I would have to be crystal ball, I don't remember what it was. I don't remember that number that it came in the first time.
I don't know.
Well, so they didn't bid the courtyard as an individual entity this time because it's part of a larger project. But you know, last time we did the courtyard, it was over budget by, it was about 100,000, I wanna say. Cause I think it came in, I think we got it down to about 308 and we had 195. If I'm going off memory, I've got it right here in this book to the extent that people are interested. But now what we've done is, we broadened the project. You know, when we first put out the courtyard, it was just the courtyard. There weren't any sidewalks, there wasn't a mast arm pole, nothing like that.
I think what he's saying, he's asking for, you know, we bid it once, got one bid.
Yes, so we can't open those bids.
So you didn't open it.
Correct.
You don't know what it was.
Yes, so they actually leave with it. They have to bring it sealed in envelope, and if there aren't 3 the first time, they leave with their bid.
You answered my question. That was what was under budget was the engineer's estimate. Let me throw a crazy idea. At this point, what, in terms of cost savings, are there areas of the project that we could abandon? And the reason why I ask is because increasingly our music on Main has migrated to the front of the town hall, which I think has been really good. The parking is obviously the drawback because the craft vendors take up the parking, but I think that creates a bigger, anyway, so if the courtyard project were abandoned, what does that do for the overall project? Is that a possibility?
It is a possibility. So you all have been awarded, we have been awarded $195,000 for just the courtyard.
Right.
The remainder of the funding, so the $750 from the General Assembly is just $750,000 for blank.
Right.
The $850 was supplemental to the courtyard, but was not just the courtyard. So that's actually where the lion's share of the intersection funding is coming from. And then the $45,000 is for downtown beautification. And so in theory, now it would change, you know, the contractor would have to be amenable to some of these changes as well, but it would affect the overall picture, but it would reduce the cost significantly if we did not do the courtyard.
And let me go on record as I am not in favor of that. I would love to see the courtyard as a part of the whole project, but I want to see the project adopted, and so I'm just open to give possibilities. Other questions or comments from council?
So I know you didn't want to take from water and sewer, but if you took half of that, $240,000 out of water and sewer, and then we're making up another $246,000 somewhere else. I mean, would that strengthen our position or worsen it? I mean, because water sewers seem to have the most money in it.
It does right now. I think ideally, so to give me the most possible leeway so that, you know, we could have, and now this is gonna involve some risk. So I don't hear that on the front. But if it is approved, I can then take it to granting agencies and say, look, you've given us money on this, but because of all these things that now cost more money than they did when you originally granted us the funds, can we come back which is what we did with RDED, right? We said, we originally bid the courtyard out, it was forecasted at $195, they gave us $195, by the time we went through government procurement rules, it was $308.
So then we went back and said, hey, we need more money now because we can't help it. And so you don't have to have all $2 million right now. And so we could, I mean, if you all wanted to, well, actually, we're not even asking you to at this point. We're not asking you to take money from any other fund right now, because this would require a budget amendment, and we're not asking you for a budget amendment. We're just asking you that you approve this and select that bidder. At some point, it will require a budget amendment. That may be now, well, it's not now, it may be November, it could be July of next year. Because this budget, because it's a capital project budget, it goes with the project, not with the year. So it's not bound to a time, it's bound to the project itself. So, we won't necessarily have to realize these expenses until they are well underway, if that makes sense. We don't have to have the money in hand to start this. Which will give us time potentially to talk to some more granting agencies to figure out, you know, if for instance, like Partif is the one that's coming to mind right now, but if we can get that Partif grant to cover half the cost of, purchasing Dan Holt's land over there, right, that's 300 and some change, $1,000, that would come in. And so we're still in the ticker for that right now. And so there are avenues available. I think it's ideally, we would have had 3 bids on the first day, and I could have all of that information to you all tonight, and I could really lay you out a very clear plan. But because we had to open at 3 o'clock today, this is kind of where we're at. So it's a little bit more murky than I'd like it to be. But we will doggedly pursue other funding. We'll do that, you know, to the fullest extent that we're able to find other funding before we expend the town funds. And you recommend approval? Yes, sir.
And you feel comfortable with that?
I do.
I move we award the bid.
All right, there is a motion on the table from Councilman Green.
Have another,
Other questions or discussion? Or is there a second?
Does there need to be a contingent upon us getting DOT approval?
Yes, I took his motion to be contingent upon, DOT approval of the signal plan.
what happens if they don't approve it?
Then we will have to, they will tell us what they don't approve.
What's the hang up? I mean, I thought they already had the light and everything, poles and everything.
They have they have the money for the protected left turn lanes, and they've nodded and smiled and seen that everything's fine. But they've not stamped it yet to say yes. So we're waiting for the stamp, and I'm absolutely certain, knowing DOT, that they will change something. And so what we will then do is Wes and his traffic team will tweak the plan and get that to the contractor.
Which might require a change order.
It probably will require a change order. Wes, you may
I
need
just
to-
feel like we need to move, like I say, like I mentioned earlier, we need something going on. People are getting antsy.
So the phasing plan in the bid documents doesn't start at the intersection, so they actually would start on the other side, which again gives us more time to finalize this section.
There is a motion on the table to proceed. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second from Councilman Ellis. Further questions from council?
Could I address the councilor's comment about the signal plan? It's a good question. If for some reason we get comments back from the DOT that it's going to significantly modify what is in the plan currently, they want some changes, and you know, we'll know whether those are gonna be significant or not from a cost standpoint. And if it is, then we'll have to reconvene, and that's why we're awarding contingent upon, because if there are, then we'll have to discuss, do we want to absorb those costs, or do we want to rebid in some way, or, you know, not do the project, or whatever it might be. So you'll have that decision point again, which is why it's being continued.
Another question, if we award the bid, when will work start?
I knew you all would ask that, and I so wish I had an answer for you, but what I typically like to do after the bid opening is I'll call the contractor and say, what are you looking at for a schedule? And I was not able to get hold of him just because the bid was at 3 o'clock today, and we're here meeting tonight, So typically, we'd open these a couple days ahead of the council meeting, but it just didn't work out that way, so I don't know the answer yet. I do know that in the bidding documents and what will be in the contract, and the bidders are all aware of this, there is a completion date of December 26th that has to be met. But as far as when they start and what their schedule's gonna be, I don't know that yet.
Based on that, you feel comfortable with this?
Yes, sir. And December of 26 is the hard stop, because that's when our money goes away. So if they wanna get paid, it's gotta be by December 26. Cause all of us, any state grant is always time bound, and so they will take the money back if you don't spend it. And so they know that on the front end, the contractors do, so they're all aware of that.
Other questions or comments? We do have a motion and a second to accept the base bid on, contingent upon DOT approval. Anybody else? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? It carries unanimously. Good job, gentlemen.
Creative accounting.
Always. All money is fungible.
I think we need to stop.
So what about those
I really think we need to
problems
stop
still
saying that on the record,
Yeah.
and that's.
Yeah, all kidding aside, no,
Yeah.
I think we have some challenges, and I know that we are gonna meet those challenges legally and.
Legally, yes, absolutely. All right, final business item is the post office, and we got them down to 2%.
Yes. So you have got here, under summary, breakdown of lease expenses with brokerage fee, and then without brokerage fee, and you see the difference there in the 5-year net. So it really depends on the pleasure of the board, but the post office will not sign, a lease agreement with us either at the current rate or,
Thank you.
thanks, Wes.
Yeah, good.
So they either want, that brokerage fee in place to keep it at $47,770, or the brokerage fee not in place, and so then they're gonna take 4% off $47,770, and it will be $46,246.
So we accept the 2% and make $3,000 more.
Yes, sir.
$2,843.
Is there a motion to accept that agreement?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Thomas, Councilman Litton, motion, any further discussions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise?
Hey,
Right, vote is 4-1 in favor. All right, Mr. Manager. Sorry.
Betters report, do we want to cancel the monthly subcommittee meeting? I don't have anything. Yes.
yes.
The mayor said yes, and I just immediately said. Unless there's a reason to have it, I don't have anything. Want to introduce Chief Brian Diorio, who is out here in the audience, if you can see him out there amongst all of you. So he started last Wednesday and has hit the ground running. And so we're delighted to have him. He will have a formal swearing-in ceremony at the October 28th meeting, and we'll have a public meet and greet starting at 5 o'clock and have that last right up until the council meeting, and then he'll do a formal swearing-in as one of the first agenda items that evening. I wanted to follow up with you. I'm going rapid fire, so if I need to slow down, I'll just hold up a hand. Craft fair follow-up, thought it went really well. Vendors seem to be very pleased. If there are other ways that we can communicate with people and you hear that out of the community, please let us know. We are always trying to do it, but I get complaints that we are all people see on their Facebook page, which I think is a good thing. But those complaints are from my sister. So, but thought the craft fair went really well. Appreciate Tracy for all that hard work. Just a great job, great event. Public Works guys for helping out and staking out everything. Next event is the Christmas parade and tree lighting scheduled for 12/6. And so we will be in touch with further details there. Santa will not be in a gator. So working on that. Question was raised about Tractor Supply. Tractor Supply has yet to turn in plans to us, but they are, they have drafted plans, and so they are talking with the seller of that property, because the entrance now is going to be on the, Main Street side of the store rather than being on the other side. But that water main, installation was part of the budget amendment you all approved today with the water, line loop for Homestead. That's part of what that was that we approved earlier tonight. Tiandra Crumpton, who is our community development specialist with FEMA, was looking for an office, and no one would give her an office space, so we're going to allow her to set up in what will eventually be the police department's reception office right here that has blinds on it in the lobby that we currently call Gant's Canteen, because Jonathan stocks it with Coke and little drinks, and you leave $1. And so she's gonna work out of there. She asked apparently all the municipalities and counties in Gaston and Cleveland County, and no one would offer her a space. And so we will bring Tiandra in. Town Hall I'm planning for Town Hall to be closed to the public on election day, like it was last year, unless that's going to give anyone heartburn. Okay, I'm not sure if I can do that myself, or if y'all have to let me, but it's fine. If y'all don't have any heartburn over it, then I don't think there'll be any issues. I have no idea.
I wouldn't think there would be very many people here, but I'm gonna turn out won't be very great.
There was no problem last year, did it, sort of?
Yeah, when we closed that day, and honestly, it gives, Emily doesn't normally have a day to catch up during the month, so she just squeezes it in, but there's plenty to do, and so Emily uses the day doing other stuff. Contractors are gonna begin the asphalt patching this week on Wall Avenue, and they will begin resurfacing and connecting water services, which doesn't currently affect anyone over there, but just FYI, some people on Wall, their water service is gonna be connected a little bit differently. They probably won't notice, but if you hear complaints on that side of the wall, that's what it is. They need to just let them run the faucet for a little while. Paperless billing updates. I don't know if y'all have noticed or not. We're a big deal, and so we take credit cards now. Always been a big deal, but now it's official. So residents will need to register on the Express Bill Pay website, which can be accessed through the town's website for paperless billing and auto pay. They can call Town Hall with questions. Rhonda is open to explaining that if she is needed, but that is the next step in our switch over to our new billing software and finance system. And so folks who are currently on paperless billing are going to default back to paper billing. Okay, so if you don't typically get a water bill and you get it in your email, it is coming to you in paper. They can't translate that over, so we'll just have to re-enroll you in paperless, so it's not a big deal. Your bill will still be getting paid, but it's just paperless now.
You don't have to re-sign up for auto pay? I did it today when I went through the system.
Rhonda?
I think right now, we will still be able to do drafts, but when we go live with utility billing, which won't be for, not till next year sometime. But I'm thinking you can do drafts, we'll still do drafts, because we're still in the old software for utility billing. That makes sense.
Yes.
But you do have to sign up for the Express Bill Pay if you want paperless billing.
And we will do some robust public engagement for that, to say, hey, your bill's not gonna be drafted anymore after this day if you don't sign up for this. So we'll try to get that out as soon as we can. Strategic plan, we push that community survey out to all of our business lists, and to the local churches and anybody else whose information is in our directory, so it went to about 300 people. Trying to get some responses and hoping that some churches would put it out to their congregations, or that businesses would hang those flyers up, and we hand delivered some of those flyers with the QR code to local businesses. But really working on getting that out as quickly as we can, so folks would know to do that survey. And Gardner Webb will push that survey internally. They're hoping by the end of this week. There are some procedural hurdles that they have to go through to get approvals from different departments, and so it's a whole. It's not just send out this to everybody. It's got, I think she said there were 5 or 8 steps, so there's a process. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I can go to our remarks.
Thank you, sir. Let's go down the line tonight, Councilman Ellis.
Again, thank you, staff. taking care of our citizens. I only hear good things. I'm excited about finally we're getting closer, to seeing some dirt fly. I keep saying that it's gonna be a headache. That's what we're going to inform people that, a lot of times there's headaches that occur for us to get what we want. Chief, welcome aboard. A good staff, excited about things coming on. Tracy, hey, nothing but good. That's a lot of work, a lot of planning, and on the day, and you were around everywhere. So, I think the citizens appreciate that. So that's all I got, man.
Thanks, sir. Councilman Wood?
I really have very little to report. The Greenway Board met last night, and upcoming this Saturday, they have the 5K, 10K run down at the Greenway. I think they said that the most applicants they had before this year was 29, and this year they have 40, and they were still counting, so it looks like it's possibly gonna be well attended, and also it looks like good weather as well. I will say one thing that's a bit of a bother to me. I found out that the cabin had been broken into, the little cabin down there, vandalism, and that's bothersome to me that something like that happens down there. Just makes no sense. It's just, we're talking about trail cams or maybe getting the Wi-Fi extended out there where we can have a live camera possibly out there, because that's just crazy. So that's really all I've got.
Thanks, sir. Councilman Wood?
I certainly enjoyed the craft fair. I spent the whole day in Bowling Springs, even after the craft fair, at different places. I know the Vintage Dog Day opened up early. For me, a big part.
Misdemeanor right there, folks. Sorry.
Noise ordinance.
Yeah.
That's the chief. Why are you pointing at me?
I'm sorry, Councilman Wood.
But I didn't get any negative comments about that event, so that's the only comment I got was, somebody asked, well, do you have a social district? I said, no, we don't. But, maybe if we get this other bar up on the corner for those events, we might wanna, we've discussed that in the past, maybe something we look at again in the future. Did get a concern about parking, and I noticed the Gardnerwood folks said that was on their, list as well, so, maybe we commission a parking study at some point down the road after we do these projects. I understand we have a consensus on the Grand Marshal for the Christmas parade, and that will be our Mayor Daniel Thomas. Congratulations. Thank you.
Councilman Thomas?
Yep. So welcome aboard, Chief. Look forward to talking with you and helping you any way we can. Wonderful place to work, and you got some good people here serving, and you got a great community. So, craft fair, like I said, was wonderful. I mean, I like the fact that it's moved from one place. This is sort of our building that we built to sort of be the pinnacle of, hey, this is our town hall. And to use that front lawn was a great idea, so I don't know if that's your idea, Tracy. But yeah, it does limit us in parking, but I think it was upfront, it was showing people that we were doing something positive in the community, not just spending their money on this, right? And then I just love seeing that fire department go up, and I look forward to the day that our new fire department is dedicated and in service for the community. But, and thank you to all the staff, so appreciate all your hard work. That's all I've got.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Green?
First of all, I'd like to let Zach know that I'm concerned about your dad. And he's back at hospice. But let Sam know I'm still praying for him. It's tough, I know. Been there. I know it's tough, but think about you a lot. You'll work out this. Tracy, I think it's great. There were a couple of comments on one of the Facebook pages there. But, I got a little, my wife said I should take mine down, but I didn't. But I think it was great. And I agree, but I don't know how many other ways we can tell people things, but say, I didn't even know what was going on. Well, that's not our fault, that's their fault. It was their board. But anyway, it was great. Christmas parade, I think it's gonna be great too. As long as Santa's not in the gator. I did have a record, somebody mentioned to me that maybe, I don't, Flying Hammock, he used to have the big horses and big buggy. I don't know if any of his family still has that or not, that's
working, with American Restoration and also the Chevy dealership over in Shelby. Both are interested in providing us with a Grand Marshal vehicle, council vehicles, and a Santa vehicle. So,
Not a car. Not a car.
we're not gonna put Santa in a car, but Santa cannot go on a fire truck.
Santa has unique challenges.
What?
Santa has unique challenges.
He does.
He likes his cookies.
Yes, so we have to,
Maybe we get a new Santa.
I don't know about that. I don't know anything about Santas.
Yeah. No, I'm just joking.
Oh,
I'm sure it'd be fun.
Well, you will be pleasantly surprised. I have confidence.
I'm sure, and I'm sure if you land it, but if you did the graphic. So appreciate the staff, all the hard work. Chief, glad to have you on board. You were hit the other day when you come to Quick Snack and Jonathan introduced you. That's a tough group. I want to come back and pay a little more attention to them because you might need to deal with someone. But glad to have you. That's all I got.
Thank you, sir.
The only other thing I would say about the public outreach, so I'm looking at ways that we can get local businesses to have those table tents. That if we provide them, we'll bring them flyers to put in them as an insert, so they're sitting on the local, like at some of our local restaurants. That's the only other outreach thing I can come up with, but I'm racking my brain trying to figure out what we can do.
And one of the things is, if you go to paperless formula, then you don't have, you can't mail the.
Yeah. If you don't read your email,
Can't
look
get
at your
the flyer.
mail, you don't see the newsletter, you don't do the inserts.
Yeah.
Well, future, maybe the arm just going through our lights, we can have a banner off there.
Yeah. I bet the Turner trucks will love that.
Yeah, right, fine,
Yeah.
I got an email from the International Institute of Municipal Clerks earlier this month congratulating our own Tracy Holland for now being a certified municipal clerk. So she is Tracy Holland CMC. Congratulations. I did get to go and sit with Nate Evans in the presidential suite there at during the barbecue bowl for a little while, but the best part was he left and he has a new t-shirt gun that he likes to fire. And he was gone for a while. He had a good time shooting those t-shirts. So I really do appreciate the relationship that he has helped reestablish with the university. Tracy, and this is my last thing, I'll probably babble a little bit next meeting, but Tracy asked me if I would write a little bit of a farewell for the newsletter, and it just is really easy to generate topics. I mean, when I first started and Tom Hart was here and Mike took me around to explain how sewer systems even work, which is where I learned it. Who doesn't flow uphill, you know, I learned what that really means. And from that time, just the amount of the number and quality of accomplishments that this council has seen through over the past decade, it's just really good stuff. I mean, we heard it from the professor. You gentlemen have us on a good track to achieve this strategic plan, you know, to achieve this respectful growth, and the way and the manner in which you enter into these discussions, which are weighty. We're talking about really weighty items here, with wisdom and care. I really appreciate it, and the staff, day in and day out, excellence and professionalism. What a pleasure it is, you know, to serve in this way. Thank you all for coming. We'll see you in just a few short weeks. October 28th is our next meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn? Second. All those opposed say aye. I'll second it. Right there. Don't tell them if you see them speak there.
Yeah, the second meeting is really it's a test balloon to see how much y'all like meeting twice in 1 month.
Yeah.
Oh, God. And if you like.
Everybody's on
Sorry, did you hear that? Yeah, well, no, look, we might double your pay. I'll have to talk to 6 people about that.